You realize that all of a sudden, your energy level is just tanking, and you're wondering, what even happened to my energy? Masking is why you feel exhausted all the time. From a very young age, we learned that something that we were doing usually got us into trouble, caused us not to fit in, got us made fun of, made us feel like an outsider. You're learning behaviors from your peers mostly. So, what do you do as a neurodiverse kid that doesn't understand any of that yet? Well, you try to fit in. You try to conform. You try to act like the other kids. When you reach adulthood, especially if your neurodiversity kind of went unaddressed, the price is there's this underlying exhaustion. Masking requires extra executive function. It's a lot of emotional labor. It can kind of all leave you feeling fake or depleted or dissociated from yourself. Ask yourself, where am I masking? And in those areas that I'm masking, what feels forced and maybe less necessary? Practice being more yourself in safer environments. Is everybody going to get it? No. Your authenticity doesn't have to create chaos. You can show up as your authentic self without insulting others or making it really weird by violating their boundaries or having no self control. If you've been feeling exhausted all the time, maybe it's not your energy levels. Maybe it's just the mask. It's not that you're broken. You're just tired of pretending. Have you ever been out and about and you realize that all of a sudden your energy level is just tanking and you're wondering, what even happened to my energy? Masking is why you feel exhausted all the time. And what is masking? It's concealing or altering your natural state. And it mostly applies to people who are ADHD and autistic, especially. From a very young age, we learned that something that we were doing, this or that, usually got us into trouble, caused us not to fit in, got us made fun of, made us feel like an outsider. So, as a child, you're learning, right? You're learning behaviors from your peers mostly. So, what do you do as a neurodiverse kid that doesn't understand any of that yet? Well, you try to fit in. You try to conform. You try to act like the other kids. As a kid, that doesn't really affect you as much. You've got a lot more energy to work with, right? You're just a ball of sugar from whatever you ate at lunch, running around at recess. But then, when you reach adulthood, especially if your neurodiversity kind of went unaddressed, there comes a price. Hey there, what's up? My name's Ash. I'm a neurodiverse life coach, and I help people who are ADHD and autistic find their purpose, find their flow, and build lives that fit who they are and how they function. If you're looking for more help in that department, I've got a free ebook for you that's in the description below. It's called the Neuro Navigator, and it's got all kinds of tips and tricks to help you understand yourself and your needs a lot better. So give it a try. And if you're interested in diving deeper, the link to work with me is in the description as well. And the price is every day when you get to the end of the day, or maybe you hit it midday, depends on the day, probably on what's going on, where you're just exhausted. And what's happening is you're masking. It can become so automatic that you forget what it feels like to just be yourself. And it's not like you're pretending to be another person necessarily, but you are maybe subconsciously toning down those aspects of yourself that as a kid cause you to not fit in or cause you to feel different. And as an adult, that becomes incredibly taxing. It's not just making it through a few hours at school. It's going through a work day with people with constant demands, with social pressures of its own, with combating your limitations to do your actual job tasks, with the politics and the clickiness of work and those environments. It's hard to get through the day, and then you get to the end of the day and you've got nothing left because that mask has been on all day long. And listen, the neurotypicals can get something out of this too. We all wear a mask, right? We all have conversations that we'd rather not have with people just about stuff that we don't care about. And unless you work for yourself like me, thank goodness, I mostly have to worry about me and my clients, which is great. For the neurodiverse crowd, things like small talk are exhausting. I can't really do it. I just know that if I have a social networking event, that I probably got 2 hours on the clock max before I gotta go. Between noise and chatter going on around me already, and then trying to really engage and make meaningful connection with like one or a couple people that are standing in front of me, and hear, interpret, and talk back in a conversation when there's all of that stimuli going on around me. That's like maximum stress for someone like me. So, for everyone else, at work, in social settings, and then you've got to go home, and then you've got to be in a relationship, you've got to be a parent, you've got to be a caretaker to a family member, whatever it is. You got a dog you got to take care of. There's all these little aspects of life that some of them require a mask, and we wear it, and we do what we can, and we get through it. And then there's other stuff that we don't need it for, which is great because it's a great break for us. But when you push it too hard in those areas where you need that mask, or you feel like you need that mask, let's say, it can affect those other areas where you don't need a mask, where you're just too exhausted to engage anyways. A lot of neurodivergent people think that they have low energy when really they're just overmasking. This leads to a very high cognitive, emotional, and sensory cost. If you have ADHD or you're autistic and you feel exhausted after being around people, it's not that you don't have energy, it's that the mask is heavy. Research into neurodivergent burnout suggests that people who have this going on have chronic stress and a difficulty with the mismatch between expectations of society versus your abilities some days. The truth is, masking requires extra executive function. It's a lot of emotional labor. It can look like trying to function normally in environments that are already overstimulating. Any place with really bright lighting, the grocery store always has like offensive industrial lighting. Hospitals, just stores, places that you're out and about. The noise, the people, the lighting, all of it. And then there's confronting societal norms that aren't really in your nature. Things like small talk, like we said, interacting with a lot of people at once, standing up in front of a crowd. That's a big deal. And then there's having to pay attention to social cues to get through the day, to get through certain interactions. You're always wondering as a neurodiverse person, like, am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? And then there's like oh my God, how long have I been dissociated because I've been standing here in this group of people talking for like a minute and I don't know, I just went somewhere, not here. They must think I'm on drugs. I don't know. You're trying to remember manners and expectations of regular society that, you recognize why they're valued, but you don't necessarily value them yourself. It's hard not to be in your head, always thinking, did I do this right? Because a lot of times growing up, you didn't do it quite right, and it came back to bite you in terms of fitting in, especially. So it's hard not to be in your head thinking like, what's the vibe? Am I fitting the vibe here? Am I dressed okay? Like I said, am I talking too much? Not enough? Should I just leave? I don't know if anybody else does this, but I have a special skill, which is deciding somewhere in my mind during a conversation with usually with a small group, usually not with one person. I try not to be that rude, but what happens is I've decided that I don't know how to add to this conversation anymore. I don't really understand what these people are talking about. So rather than be polite and excuse myself or find something constructive to say, I just leave. And it's always when someone's like mid sentence, I'm just like, boop, bye. I don't mean to do it. I don't even realize I'm doing it. So then I'm in my head thinking, should I go back? Maybe it'll be more awkward if I go back. What do I do? Maybe I should find a new group of people to talk to now because I fucking burned that bridge. These are the things that run through your head. And in a regular work setting, there are those pressures of always being scared you're going to get in trouble. I know for me, I grew up really struggling with typos, especially. So at work, if I got pulled aside, I was like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. I fucked something up. I fucked something up. That's where my mind went. always feeling like you're trying to catch up and keep up to everyone else's work pace, the expectations placed upon you, deadlines, maintaining effective communication. It can kind of all leave you feeling fake or depleted or dissociated from yourself. So, how do you move forward with more authenticity? So, ask yourself, where am I masking? And in those areas that I'm masking, what feels forced and maybe less necessary? Look, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to mask. People would just like get it. But we live on planet Earth and people don't fucking get it. So for those things that feel kind of forced, maybe less necessary, why don't you practice being more yourself in safer environments? Try not slipping that mask on. I know it can become a source of comfort because growing up you maybe didn't have that comfort of feeling confident in everything that you did, always being criticized or feeling other than somehow. Here's something you can do for self-care. You need a buffer time after you've been at an event at work, at doing something that causes you to, it's a high masking situation. Okay, you're a little depleted. You need 30 plus minutes of decompression when you get home or get to a quiet place, minimum 30 minutes. Put on like a quiet, soft sound that calms you. Use what I like to call your sensory savers. Comfy clothes, a blanket, turn the lights down. Whatever your jam is, whatever floats your boat. If I come home from a long day where I got sweaty or I had to wear something like kind of dressy, I am taking my pants off immediately and like flopping somewhere in my underwear, just like laying there for a little bit. Whether I check out on my phone or I put some music on or just kind of lay there. That's one thing that I do. I have some clients that like to clean up their house a little bit, even if it's not messy. It just like calms them down. Like they wipe things down, they do the vacuum really quick or something, and then like they throw on some candles, whatever. I have others clients who like to have a good scream in the pillow to decompress. You know what? You do you, baby. Whatever it is that works to help you kind of decompress from feeling like you had to just carry that mask with you and just not let it slip all day. It gets tiring. Just let the energy out. As long as there's no harm, there's no real rules. Do what you have to do that helps you offload that energy and reset. You have to decide what aspects of you are worth letting shine, even if they're a little different. You have to escape that childhood trauma that you went through where you were rejected because of how you show up authentically, because you were a little different. I don't know if you know, different is fucking cool now. Dating on the Spectrum is like the top show on Netflix. Okay, like it's gonna be okay. Is everybody gonna get it? No. Your authenticity doesn't have to create chaos. You can show up as your authentic self without insulting others or make it really weird by violating their boundaries or just kind of having no self-control. Things are different now. Like I said, I feel like different is now cool, but people are people, and just give them an instructional manual. You can, explain that there's certain things you may do that may be a little different, like, I don't know, stims, for example. If you let people know, they're like, oh, okay, pass the fucking potatoes. Like, let's move on, Nobody really cares. Everybody's in their own head about their own bullshit and the way they perceive themselves, too. As much as that may have brought you rejection in the past, it doesn't mean that that is part of your story today. It can be different. And frankly, if the people that you spend time with, if you have to mask around them heavily, are those like the meaningful connections that you want in life? It's just a question to ask yourself and to be mindful of. People are people. They may not always get it, but if you give them an instruction manual, you might be surprised. They might be all right. You can be yourself without making it weird. Um, and without over explaining, you can say what needs to be said, help them understand, and then show up as you. Just be you. So, this is a great time for you to take that audit of your masking behaviors and create like a recovery routine. Plan out how you want to spend your downtime. Reflect on where you're masking and where you can stand to do away with it. And practice that safe self expression in friend groups, in whatever, with family, wherever you feel more safe to unmask and just be your authentic self without having to conform so much. Wherever you can kind of feel like you can get away with more of that, do it. So I want you to try something. Tonight, I want you to think of one thing you would like to do showing up as your full authentic self, not what you think you should show up as. And just do it. Observe how it feels. Whether that's how you show up to a dinner, whether that's how you show up to an event, whether that's how you show up with your friends or your family. Show up in a way that is more authentic and less draining on you. Maybe you don't dress up as much this time. Maybe you take some sensory tool that is a help to you. Maybe you wear sunglasses because it's too damn bright. I don't know. Don't like get arrested for acting weird, but you know, these cops be looking for dumbass reasons to arrest people sometimes. I just watched a TikTok the other day. It was like a trend where you call like a family member and say, hey, they're like, these kids are like making fun of, my kid, like to a uncle or an aunt or somebody in the family. And like, are you going to help us like show up and like beat up these kids basically? And the mom of the daughter, teenage daughter, called her autistic brother. She's like, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just sitting here coloring in my DC characters. Cute. She's like, these people are bullying Kenzie. Like, are you gonna come help me like deal with these fuckers or what? And the brother's like, well, I'll get my sword. And she's like, okay, cool. Do you want Kenzie to come pick you up or you want me to come pick you up? I was like, oh no, please don't let this man walk over with a sword. He's definitely going to get arrested. Very cute. Pick up at least one thing that you want to try to do more showing up as your authentic self. So remember, if you've been feeling exhausted all the time, maybe it's not your energy levels. Maybe it's just the mask. It's not that you're broken. You're just tired of pretending. Even when you don't realize that you're pretending, it goes subconscious sometimes. And most importantly, the goal isn't to become better at functioning. It's to become more yourself. Happy whatever day it is. Peace.